So not only were we being physically, emotionally abused, but there were other abuses going on. We lived in poverty. We had many times that we didn't have utilities, basic water and electricity. We had sometimes very little food.
Hello, you are listening to NPE Stories. This is a podcast where NPEs can share their story. I am your host, Lily, and I found out I was an NPE through an Ancestry DNA test that changed my life forever. NPE is a term that stands for Not Parent Expected or Non-Paternal Event. This means that one or more of our parents are not who we believe them to be. NPE Stories is a podcast where NPEs can share their story of what their original family was like, how they found out they were an NPE, and what their journey has been like since the day they found out. And welcome to episode 162. And today's resource I would like to mention is the NPE Stories podcast. This podcast has served as a resource to NPEs, LDAs, and DCPs for 4 years now. I have recorded over 160 episodes, and I have about 50 people waiting on the wait list to share their story in the upcoming year or two. I have over 1,000 emails from NPEs willing to share their story. And so I have created a Patreon account for NPE Stories. And you can find this at patreon.com/NPE Stories. I will list the link below. And I hope you will consider donating to the NPE Stories podcast so that I can continue to create episodes and seasons to come. So that is our resource for the week, is Patreon account for the NPE Stories. If you're interested in being a patron, I will be providing some behind-the-scenes work that goes into this podcast. For instance, I have books full of notes that I take for over the 160 episodes I've made. I will be taking shots of those and providing that information. Of course, particular anonymous information will be blurred out, but I'm also going to be giving a 1 to 2 minute video on my opinions and thoughts after each episode. So thank you for listening to that newest resource for the podcast. And now we are going to listen to our NPE share her story. And today I am speaking with Paige. Hi, Paige.
Hi, Lily. It's so nice to be here.
Thank you so much for doing this today.
I do appreciate the opportunity to be here and share my story with others in the community who it's just such a benefit to have a resource to come to listen to other people and to be able to relate to what they've gone through and how you feel the same things, and just know that you're not alone through this journey.
I know I'm always nodding along when people share their stories. I really am. All right, let's listen to your story now. So why don't you start at the beginning, and so we can get an idea of your family of origin, and we'll take it from there.
All right. So I was the fourth child in my family, born to my parents. My mother and father married. She was 14, he was 21. So just to give a perspective of their youth and maybe why some of the choices they made. But I was the youngest of the four children, and my birth certificate father passed away in a tragic work-related accident when I was 5. So my mother was widowed with 4 little children, and she went into a bout of depression. I remember for a few years just everything seeming so dark at home. But she eventually started working and found someone else and remarried. And initially, it seemed as though it was going to be a really good thing for us, but he turned out to be very abusive emotionally and physically. My mother continued to work outside of the home, and I'm not sure at what age I was when I had just a fear of being left alone at home, well, with my other siblings, but with the stepdad there. And I do recall that he did come into my room and, do some inappropriate things. And so not only were we being physically, emotionally abused, but there were other abuses going on. We lived in poverty. We had many times that we didn't have utilities, basic water and electricity. We had sometimes very little food. School was no longer even a safe place, with being bullied and harassed because of the environment I lived in. I realize that now. It's something I didn't realize then as a kid. My mama attempted several times to leave my stepdad, but he'd always come back and find us wherever we were and drag us back home, to more violence. So my childhood was very difficult. And by the time I reached 16, I had lots of anger and confusion and bent up emotions that I just didn't really know how to process. But eventually I found my husband, who was able to give me a better life and guide me out of that. I got married at 18 and we went on to have 3 children, and thankfully find God who helped to bring some healing into my life and enable me to be a better parent to my children and to have a stable, as normal as can be life these days. So that was basically my childhood. It was just rough, very rough childhood.
Mm.
So we fast forward now to 2017, and my birthday happens to be on Halloween. And so sometimes we would stay home and hand out candy, but I worked in the school system. So it's kind of like I was the local celebrity when the kids would come trick or treat. They all knew it was my birthday. And so sometimes you just needed to get away and do something different. So my husband decided he would take me to eat out at this local restaurant that was run actually by a relative of my mom's. So when we're sitting in the restaurant eating, and the man recognized me, he's like, "Oh, hey, Paige, I see your brothers in here all the time." And in the middle of this restaurant, in the middle of my dessert, he says, "Paige, you and your brothers, y'all don't have the same dad though, right?" And in that moment, I like to just totally I wish the floor could have swallowed me up. It was a rumor I had heard many times before. Had confronted my mama about on several occasions, that she had always denied it. And then here I was again on my birthday having this thrown at me from across a restaurant. So I went home that night, and once my husband went off to bed because he had work in the morning, I got online and I decided I was going to order an Ancestry DNA kit. So the kit came in and I told no one. I had 3 adult daughters. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell anyone because I don't know. It's like I knew it was going to uncover something. So I did the test, and when I got the results in, some of the names just didn't make sense. So I called my mom, confronted her, and she says, "No, Paige, I promise. Your dad is your birth certificate dad." And it seemed to me at the time, I didn't realize how I would ever prove otherwise because he was deceased. So I kind of let it go. A few months later, probably in April of 2017, it popped up that I had a close relative. So when I looked at the relation, it showed that she would have been my aunt. And I'm like, well, that's strange. So once again, I called my mom. She's like, "I don't know who that woman is." And so from there, I ordered my mom a kit. She took the kit. So obviously the lady came back not related to my mother. And it disturbed me. I thought about it day and night. And finally, I decided to reach out to my birth certificate father's only living sibling, my aunt. So I reached out to her, and she spoke with her kids, and she decided that she'd go ahead and do a test for me. So as you know, like drama always plays out, the first test didn't come out. So then I said, I think I'll just give up on this. Maybe I should just let it go. Well, I didn't let it go. And I did let it go, but they ended up calling me and saying, "Hey, what happened with the results?" And I said, "Well, the test didn't work out." And she says, "Well, you know, my mom's willing to do it for you." It was my cousin who had called. So I said, "Okay." So in January of 2019, I ended up going over to their house. She redid the test. And then in April of 2019, I was sitting at work when my phone went off that my results were in because I had controlled her test. So I was working in the library at school, and after the little kids left for recess and I had a few minutes before the next class, I decided to go ahead and check it. And that's when I saw that her and I were not related. We had absolutely no relation. So I knew that my mom had been lying to me. it just so happened the day that I found out, I was scheduled to fly out, my husband and I, to my daughter's in Washington to purchase a wedding dress because she was getting married that year. So I tried to bottle up my feelings as best I could. I did send out a group text to my girls and I said, well, turns out I'm fatherless. I just got my DNA results. And I'll never forget my middle daughter messaging me back and saying, Mom, I just feel like God wants me to tell you you're not fatherless, that he's always been your father and he always will be. And it's something that just resonated with me. So I went on to spend the weekend with my daughter, my husband and I. We did wedding dress shopping, and I tried to just push all those raw emotions to the background. On Monday, I dropped my husband off at the airport as he was returning to Louisiana. I was staying in Washington because my youngest daughter my other two daughters were flying up actually, but we were celebrating like a joint bachelorette from two of my daughters who were both getting married in 2019. So on the Monday, I dropped him off at the airport. I dropped my daughter off at work, and I went straight home onto the computer. I messaged the Ancestry DNA account that showed that I had an aunt, and I confronted and I said, look, I understand you manage your mom's account, but she is showing up as my aunt, and I want to know if she has any brothers. So I just waited throughout the day, and I did text my mom also. I couldn't call her because my heart was just too broken. So I just sent her a text that I knew the truth, that I had my aunt do a test and I knew she was not related to me, and that I wanted to know who my biological father was. So the entire day seemed to just go by in slow motion. And then finally, around 4:30 in the afternoon, I got a message back on the Ancestry DNA site. And the lady proceeded to tell me that her mother did have two brothers. She gave me both their names, and she said, but she's quite certain because of their Native American heritage and with like keeping things in the family when you married, staying close, that it must have been a first cousin because both of her uncles were both loving, devoted fathers and family men and had been happily married for numerous years. And so I just took the two names and I just waited. And then eventually, actually, it's kind of a funny story, but so I'm at my daughter's and my future son-in-law walks in. We were supposed to grill that night, and he says, oh, Paige, I got two kinds of beers that we can go ahead and do like a little beer tasting while we grill tonight. I thought it would be so fun. And I'm like, oh, that would be wonderful. And so he walks out to light the grill, and I get a text message from my mom, and it's confessing. And sure enough, the name she gives me is one of the names of the two loving, devoted fathers that were given to me earlier that day. And I just totally felt so betrayed and hurt at 47 years old, finding out that I had been lied to. I felt as if someone had just literally punched me in the face and the gut at the same time. And I burst into tears, and my daughter's just holding me, and I'm just sobbing. And my poor future son-in-law walks back in, and he doesn't know what is going on in this house because we both in hysterics. And poor guy walks back out. Then he comes in a little while later. He says, do you want that beer now? And I'm like, I think I need something a little stronger than a beer to process this news. So he disappears again. My daughter's like, well, I'm getting online. I'm finding these people. And so in comes my future son-in-law, and he's like, well, I don't know what's going on, and I don't need to know what's going on. He said, but I want you to know I have your back. So I went and got some vodka. He said, but I'm still worried about your health. So I got organic vodka. As if it would make a difference. So my daughter's actually on the computer, and she's like, oh my God, Mom, how much do you want to know? And I mean, I'm cursing, I'm angry. I'm like, I want to know everything. And she said, are you sure? And I said, yes, I want to know it all. She said, well, you have two sisters, and Mom, one of them looks just like you. And she turned the screen so I can see this picture of this lady with curly hair, her hair pulled back in a ponytail with sunglasses. And from across the room, I could have thought it was me. And I just was stunned. And my son-in-law looks at me and he says, I think you need a double. Because he's like, one shot won't be enough to process that picture that looks just like you. And it was the weirdest thing. So we looked on this lady's Facebook, and we both had pictures in front of the love sign. We both had run a half marathon. We both had pictures in Hawaii. And I'm like, it was so strange. She's married to a man who's very similar to my husband. And it was just so strange to be looking at these pictures and feeling like for the first time, maybe I did belong. For so many years, I felt like the little Sesame Street show, which one of these things don't belong? And it was always me. And looking at her, I saw a part of myself. It was so weird. So after much crying and stalking Facebook profiles and all of those things, I decided to write a letter and send it certified mail to my biological father. So I mailed that off in Washington before I even came back to Louisiana. And weeks went by with no contact, no response, nothing. So I went ahead in May and got into counseling for just the rejection, just dealing with this rejection. And my counselor told me, she says, why don't you reach out to the two sisters? And I said, well, I don't know, I don't want to necessarily disrupt their lives. And she said, well, I mean, why deprive yourself of this opportunity? Give them the opportunity to make their own choice, So my youngest daughter got married. My middle daughter got married. Well, come the end of September, we had gone through both weddings. We knew we were expecting our first grandbaby with my oldest daughter. And I just could see how my daughters all bonded and how they celebrated these things together. And it made me wish that maybe I could share that with a sister. So I ended up writing letters to the two sisters and I mailed them off. And as time went on, here's the days are going by and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go back to counseling for rejection. Nobody's writing back. No one's reaching out. And so one day I get this text. And when I had gotten all of their information, I had put all of their phones into my cell phone so that I'd never be blindsided by a phone call. So I was at work and in the library, and I see a text from one of the sisters. And it was the one that we look so much alike. We actually only 5 months apart. She was in Germany. And so she had just recently moved to Germany. And so all her mail was being forwarded to her mother-in-law's house. So her mother-in-law had actually gotten my letter, had called her about it. And she had said, well, you come and visit in a week. Just go ahead and bring it when you come. So she had just received the letter when her mother-in-law had gone to Germany to visit. So that's why there was a little delay there. But she ended up reaching out. We scheduled to have a telephone conversation a few days later, and we did. And from day one, talking on the phone, everything just flowed so naturally. And we have so many things in common and just mannerisms. And it was just so wonderful to connect with her. She did tell me that she had spoken to my biological father and that he had never received the first letter and that he was unaware. And then she also informed me that he was actually, instead of living in Oklahoma where I thought he lived, that he was actually just 2 hours away from me in Louisiana. So it was kind of like stunning that he was actually so close. So he ended up reaching out to me. And then he and I also spoke on the phone. And then like that following Monday, I actually went and met him and his wife. And his wife is just such an amazing, amazing woman. She is just such a blessing because she was so, although she was hurt and devastated by his betrayal, she never held it against me. And she was welcoming to me, my children, my grandchildren. She goes above and beyond to just to be a part of our lives. And her and I have a great relationship. We do a Bible study together once a week, and it's just been a blessing to have her and for her to have just accepted it as well as she has just been such a gift.
Oh, wow.
And I did end up getting to meet the sister who looks just like me, and it's quite a fun story if you'd like me to share it.
I would love that. I'm just listening and nodding along with you.
So she ended up, after we spoke on the phone, she's like, I just feel like I need to meet you in person and I need to know that you're real. She says, would it be okay if I came for Thanksgiving? And I'm like, that would be wonderful. I would love that. And I said, well, how about my husband and I pick you up at the airport? And she's like, okay, that sounds great. So the New Orleans airport had just opened a new airport. And so there was still a little construction going on. And it took us probably 15 minutes just to find out where the international flights would be coming in at so we could be waiting at the gate. So we finally get in. It's this little awkward corridor, and it's still like it was just a bare sheetrock. It wasn't even really finished. So my husband and I are standing there, and like people are trickling out just one at a time. And there's probably 40 people in this corridor just waiting for this flight. And it'd be like one person come out like they're walking a runway. So finally, my husband's like, I don't think I can wait anymore. I'm going to have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, please, please go. Because the minute you turn the corner, she'll come through the doors. That's how it's going to happen. And sure enough, he leaves. He walks through the door and out she comes. So I see her, she sees me, and we like just connect. And so we start running to each other. She's pulling her bag and I'm running. And I stop at the little line of security and she gets there and we just hugging and we crying. And she backs up and she's like, oh my God, you are real. And like we just hug again and we cry some more. And so the security guard lady says, wow, they must not have seen each other in a long time. And we look at each other, we hug again, and the other lady says, God, it must have been a really long time. And so we actually stopped and we said, actually, we sisters who have only known each other for like 2.5 weeks and we meeting for the first time. And so as we walking out, people are like, oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. Oh my gosh, we're all crying. And they like just crying with us and y'all look so much alike. And so we shared this such an intimate, beautiful moment with like 40 strangers in the airport.
You see, I'm crying too right now. Oh, that's beautiful.
And we've been close ever since. And we took our first picture with Santa this year. We have so much fun because we a lot alike. We both like to be silly like that. We're like, oh my gosh, look, it's Santa. We should take a picture. So then we tell Santa our picture and he says, well, y'all are getting y'all first picture. And he said, Merry Christmas. And he just squeezed us tight and we took a picture with him.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. So you've met both your sisters. That is so beautiful.
Yes, I have.
Are those your only siblings?
No, so
New?
yes, it's 2 new sisters I have, yes.
Okay.
And then I do have still a relationship with my siblings from my original family, but it's always been a little strained. And I think that's because of the turmoil and chaos we were raised in. I think that when we do all get together, we kind of might trigger off some painful memories maybe. And so we do get together and we do have a bond, but it's not as close as I wish it could be because I just think there's so much hurt and pain there.
Mm-hmm. What do they think about you meeting your birth father and new siblings?
Well, so one of the first times I ever heard the rumor, it came from a mutual friend I had with my oldest brother. And she had told me that he had told her that we didn't have the same dad. So when I initially went to tell my oldest brother, I just assumed that he had also told my brother that was closer in age. My sister, she's been in and out of rehab, so we don't have a close enough relationship that I've actually ever spoken to her about it. But I just sent a text when I told my brothers, and that I'm kind of regretting because I think it caused a little bit of hurt that I didn't intend to, because I was thinking that my brother closest to my age, I'm thinking that he already knew and he didn't. So I kind of blindsided him and his wife with a text assuming that my older brother had told him as he had told other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we've seen each other since. My brother, who's closest in age to me, doesn't ask questions. I think he's kind of just doesn't want to deal with it. And that's fine, because it's not like we all blending together and mixing these families anyway. But my oldest brother, we've kind of got together since then, and I hold no hard feelings towards him about having shared something and about knowing we didn't have the same dad and never actually just telling me, because I understand that we all young and we all tried to process our childhood in different ways. And a lot of times it was very dysfunctional. But I'm just grateful to finally know the truth. And I'm so grateful to have found this additional family, because I have such a beautiful relationship with one of the two sisters. The other one, we didn't really connect on that level, but the one that I do have this beautiful, her name is Beth. And we just have such a fabulous relationship. In 2010, I was diagnosed with systemic sclerosis. It's an autoimmune disease. And it came on very aggressively. And I ended up having to go through lots of different treatment. And then I went through a naturopath route and kind of had brought a lot of resolve and remission to my body. But then when all of this came out in 2019, like my autoimmune disease just flared back up. And it's been really aggressive and causing a lot of problems. So over the weekend, I had been sick for a while. Over the weekend, I ended up in the ER, and I had to have a CT scan done. And so they ended up in the process finding that the scleroderma has gotten into my lungs. So tomorrow I'm actually going to be going to a pulmonologist to find out the impacts of that and what treatments I may have to go through. But it was so comforting to be able to call my sister and to be able to cry with her and have someone who's going to be here to support me through this.
Paige, I'm so sorry. That's scary.
But I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful now that I do have the opportunity to build a relationship with my biological father. It's something, having grown up, having lost my birth certificate daddy, it was a longing I always had. And to have the opportunity to have meals with him and to have him at events for my grandchildren, it's something I always longed for. And I'm so grateful to now have that.
So your birth father and Beth, they're part of your life with your children?
Yes, with my children and my grandchildren. And it's just wonderful to have something that I longed for many years.
It's so nice to hear this beautiful relationship you've built with Beth.
Yes, it's truly such a blessing. And it has by far had such an impact on my life. Just to have somebody that I feel so instantly connected to, that is so much like me and understands me and can relate to me. And now to have her, and like I told her Sunday on the phone that, because we always say she lives in St. Louis, so we try to make it a point to get together, but it's not always as convenient as it is. And so Sunday I told her, I said, I just want us to take time to have sister weekends, because we've lost enough years already. And I want us to enjoy the ones that we have left together.
I'm so sorry about what you just found out, your medical diagnosis. I'm sorry. That's really scary. I feel for you a lot.
It's been a journey, I'm 13 years in, and I fought so hard the first go round to get into remission, and I'm just going to have to fight again. And it's good to know that I have extra support in this round of the battle.
Gosh, yes, support is everything. How is your relationship with your mom these days?
Well, we're working on it. It was very strained initially. But I forgive her because I know that her life wasn't always easy, and I know that she did maybe the best with the tools she had, and she made a lot of mistakes, but she needs forgiveness like everybody else. And if I can forgive my biological dad and build a relationship with him when he chose to walk away from me, I have to forgive her for trying to protect me from the hurt of that rejection. I can't hold it against her. And it would just really just continue to destroy my body if I stayed angry and full of resentment. The forgiveness is as much for me to be able to move on and be healthy as it is to just release her from the burden, because I know she
Mm.
still beats herself up with guilt.
When you got your DNA results, did your ethnicity change?
It did.
Yeah. What is the new information
So I'm
you found?
actually a part Native American, which I did not know before. And
That's huge.
yes, it
That's a
is.
huge change.
It is. And what's the funny thing is, my birth certificate father's brother had actually did this big long genealogy. And it was a book. I had bought the book. And so when I first initially had got on Ancestry, just doing the tree, I had put in all the information from this book and gone all the way back. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, no wonder I have this curly hair and this tan skin. I mean, look, I have ancestors all the way back at the Canary Islands. Well, I don't. I have Native American and I have African and I have all of these other things, not Canary Islands. So that was kind of funny.
Oh gosh. And I'm assuming at this point, which is especially pertinent to where you're at right now, you've gotten your correct medical history.
Yes, yes. That was always quite interesting to go to the doctor and say, has anything changed in your medical history? And it's like, well, actually, yes, I've lied to you for 47 years.
I
This
know.
is really true.
Isn't that strange when you have to change your medical history as an adult?
Yes, it's just awkward. And I'm good friends with the doctor, my primary care doctor, and I'll never forget when he's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I was friends with his wife, and he's like, I mean, this is crazy. He said, like, I want to hear the whole story. And
Mhm.
so I'm in the doctor's office giving the whole story
Mm.
about how everything has played out, and it's like,
Mhm.
actually, yeah, I've been lying. No, I
Mhm.
don't have that. I have this. But actually, like, it's just been so. And when I met my biological dad, it was the weirdest things. It's like how many things don't come at all from being raised by somebody. It's just truly your nature. Like he and I are so much, in so many ways, alike. Like I even joked about that I'd like to go eat out, just he and I. But he's not a big conversationalist. And I'm not typically a big conversationalist. And I'm like, we'll go eat out and it'll be like crickets. We won't have any sound. No one will be speaking. It'll literally be just enjoying a meal together.
And now you know where that came from.
Yes.
That is so strange when you identify something you do and you see where it comes from in your family line.
Yes.
So surreal.
Like my skin tone is all him. And of his three daughters, I look the most like him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where do you fit with the birth order?
So I'm the middle child. So I have a sister who's a year and a half, almost 2 years older than me, and then Beth is only 5 months younger than I am.
Oh, yes.
And the real kicker in this story is that our mothers are first cousins.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we are actually like sister cousins.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so there is a. Oh, okay, yes, but that is his wife.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the wife of your bio dad really is. I love how she's acting. I wish every woman was able to be as welcoming, as kind as she has. And I love
Yes.
that you do, is it Bible study together every week?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. She's a
that's
beautiful
beautiful.
person. She really is.
I heard you mention earlier you went to therapy after your discovery. Are you still doing that? Did you find that beneficial?
The first go round, I've had multiple rounds of therapy now at this point. So the first time I got into therapy, I just did it just briefly for a little while because I reached a point where I didn't feel like it was beneficial. Then last year sometime or maybe year before last, I had gotten back into therapy more to try to process my childhood and the new family situation, but more really to work on my childhood. And then we had Hurricane Ida here in Louisiana, and that kind of threw everything off. And then I just never got back into it. And I actually had just last week scheduled to get back into some intensive counseling. And I think it's just such a blessing that I plan to with this new revelation of my illness, that it's going to work out really well to be getting into counseling again to help me process all this new information.
If people wanted to reach out to you or throw some support your way, maybe they identified with something in your story, could they contact you?
Absolutely. I would love that.
What is the best way to contact Paige?
They can contact me through my email. It's paige.stpierre@yahoo.com.
I will put that link to her email address below. Paige, thank you so much for doing this. I know I'm looking at you and I've been nodding along this whole time, but good luck with your upcoming appointment and everything you'll be going through. And in the midst of all of this, you took this time aside to share your story of what you've been through. I appreciate it so much. And thank you for sharing today.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And I just hope to be an encouragement to everyone out there. And I hope that possibly maybe some wives of bio dads might choose to listen and realize that we're the innocent victims here and that we deserve a chance.
These stories are here for us to identify with. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, email npestories@gmail.com. You do not have to give any identifying information. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, I'd like to hear from you. Subscribe to this podcast to hear more. Come heal with us.